Welcome to the New Money Habits podcast, where we talk about how to create a better plan for your money so you don't have to live paycheck to paycheck. Here are your hosts, Sarah Jones and Nino Villa.
Welcome back, Budgeteers. Coach Nino Villa here, and alongside me, my partner on the airways, as always, it's Sarah Jones. Hi, Sarah. How are you? And more importantly, where are you?
Well, hello, Nino. Hello, everyone. I think some of you might be really excited. I'm not in Arizona anymore. We have moved on. We are staying outside of Corpus Christi, Texas right now. And let me tell you, humidity is no joke. For those of you that live in the South, I don't know how you do it, but send your suggestions my way to a newcomer to get used to some of this humidity. I would appreciate it, please.
What are you finding most challenging with the humidity right now? I don't want to just assume because you're a woman with some long hair that it's the hair thing, but I'm guessing that's part of it.
That's part of it. And Nino, I don't think it would be appropriate to say everything else that you experience.
Fair enough.
Those that have those challenges know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right. And with that, let's talk about what we're here to talk about today.
New experiences, right? New experiences.
Yes. A perfect segue into a new experience. Today we want to talk about what is it actually like to work with a financial coach. And for those who have been listening to the podcast for any time, you know that Sarah and I, while we share a lot of common kind of principles or things that we're going to do with our clients and kind of the way that we coach, there are also differences and there are nuances. And, the analogy I always like to give up front to a prospective client is I want you to think about me as a financial coach the same way you would think about like a personal trainer, right? The idea is you have goals. We're going to learn what those goals are, and then we're going to map a plan that we think is going to help you to achieve those goals. Now, Sarah's plan may be a little bit different than mine. I was actually just sharing a story with Sarah that I'll share now with our listeners about a personal trainer I hired once. And I let the guy know what I was looking to do. And I figured he was going to be like, all right, lift as much weight as you can, as many times as you can. And he went in a completely different direction. And he was all like, I want you to pick up the lightest weight, grab that 5 pounds, and I want you to flex for the next 5 minutes. Just hold it and flex for 5 minutes. And I thought it was weird and it was strange and it was unlike anything else I had experienced. But sure enough, he helped me to get the results I was looking for nevertheless. So I want you to think of financial coaches in a similar way. No two are the same, but we all are interested in learning what your goals are and then helping you to achieve those goals. So with that being said, Sarah, I kind of want to turn things over to you to get started. What does the specifics of some of that look like when you're working with a client?
Yeah, I love this. And I'm going to bring this up again at the end, but I just want to highlight real quick, Nino, a couple of points that you had just mentioned in there is that even though that your personal trainer, he gave you some things to do that felt uncomfortable that you had never heard of before, but you put your trust into him and you followed what he was suggesting, right? The path that he was suggesting. And then you saw some results from that. Mm-hmm. You did it even though it was uncomfortable and even though you had never maybe heard of that way of doing things before. And I just want to highlight because I think that I certainly run across this within, my own clients are like, I've never heard of this before. Yeah, you might not have. And that's okay, right? And I think that part of it is putting your trust into somebody if you really want to see results and following through, even though it might be uncomfortable. So I just want to highlight that from the get-go, and we'll probably highlight that again at the end. But and that's something that I ask clients or potential clients, when people come to me, they're usually feeling kind of overwhelmed with their money, feeling, stressed out, feeling like, hey, I make good money, but I don't really know where it's going, or I keep putting money into my savings account, but I pull out of it all the time. I can't really get ahead. I don't know what it is that I'm doing wrong. And oftentimes people are like, Sarah, help. I work with a lot of solopreneurs and small business owners, and the same thing goes with their business finances too, right? That when they're coming looking for help, a lot of them are thinking, I might have to shut my business down, or I might have to close up shop because I can't pay myself. My expenses are too high. And I think the commonality with everybody is that they're looking for some kind of direction with their finances because what they've done hasn't been working. And I'm looking for a new way, help me to see what it is that I'm doing wrong here. And one of the first things that I do is I just ask people, let's just get together, call it a discovery session, call it, some people will call it a consultation. Let's just get together and have a conversation. Let's just see where you're at. I want to get a good idea of, where you think you're at. What challenges have you been facing? What have you done, already to try and mitigate those? Or what have you tried that maybe you don't feel has worked? And so I really just want to serve you powerfully during that discovery session, during that time. And for me, that's the heart of it. I want to serve and I want to help.
Yeah, I think that's one of those commonalities that you and I share, right? Is there's just this dorky passion to help people manage their money well. And so I too, like the experience and the relationship all starts with just a conversation, a no obligation, no pressure, judgment-free zone.
Yes.
I'm not here to judge you on how you spend your money. I couldn't care less. What I care about are finding out more about the goals. What are you trying to achieve? I want to know what's brought us together today. Like, usually there's this old adage that unless the fear of staying the same is less than the fear of change, you're never going to make that change. So with that being said, I want to kind of know, like, what's happened recently that you're taking action. Something must have changed. For me, it was a layoff in 2012. I changed my money habits when I got laid off and realized I don't have the nest egg in place that I think I ought to for something like this. So why are we together today? What are you looking to achieve? And you started to kind of address this too. In that discovery session, I also want to know what's been standing in your way. Why haven't you been able to achieve the goals that you're looking to achieve? And so often what we find is, I know for me, like when I went to the personal trainer, when I go to therapy, when I look for a professional, it's because I can't see the forest through the trees. And I need an outside, objective, impartial, non-biased, and again, non-judgmental view of, like, here's what's going on. Like, this is all the stuff I got going on. And then somebody with more knowledge and an objective observation can say, all right, well, based off of what you're telling me, it seems like maybe this and this and this is happening. And if we did this, this, and this, we can achieve this, this, and this goal. And that is the experience that I like to set in that discovery session. And, at the end of it, we decide if we're going to work together or not, but at least you get that much of, that insight as to what's really going on in my finances and what could be different.
I love that. And I think the discovery session is so powerful for not only me to get to know potential clients, you as a human, you as a person and some of your background, but it's also a really good way for you to get to know me, and my heart and the types of questions that I ask. And it's really a way, and and I know that you do this too. It's really about helping people right away. I don't use this discovery session, and I know you alluded to this too, that as a way to like get you into coaching, right? I want to help you. I want to learn about you. And if I can give you some tips or some tools or something right away, you bet I'm going to, right? My goal is to be that resource and that guide and that trusted source for you. Money and finances are very emotional. And much like hiring, a therapist, a counselor, you want to find somebody that you really trust, right? And so a lot of that discovery session, we do that during that time, and I'm really big on energy. Do we have compatible energy? Is the conversation, are we flowing? Are we really connecting here? And it's I wouldn't say I have any set questions. It's really kind of my sessions flow. What questions come up or what is going to come up, and what you share is what you're going to share. And, we just kind of take it from there. So I don't necessarily have any set questions. I'm more of a holistic, let's see what comes up during our time together, but very non-judgmental. That's one of my pillars, to my coaching, is that you're not going to find judgment here. We have all been, you've shared, I've shared on past episodes, some of our challenges and things that we've worked through, and we've all been through it, right? We might not have been through exactly the situation that all of you are going through, but we've been through some really, really tough, challenging, difficult situations that, quite frankly, maybe some of us thought it was going to break, and for a period of time, maybe it did. But I just want any listener to know that, reaching out was one of the best things that I ever did, because it was me admitting that I couldn't handle this. I couldn't do this on my own any longer. I really needed, an extra set of eyes and some guidance. And that was really important.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of kind of reaching out is often for that accountability, right? Knowledge and accountability, right? Again, I look for a expert who knows more than me. So if I'm looking to a therapist, it's, hey, you have all this training, you know better than I do. If I'm looking for a physical trainer or a nutritionist, it's, hey, you know how the body works better than I do. And so there's a level of expertise, and then there's a sense of accountability that somebody's going to be checking in with me and kind of making sure that I'm doing the work and that I'm making the progress I'm looking to make, and that sort of thing, and help me to course correct if I'm on a way towards a goal and it's just not working that way, to course correct. And that's what I think our discovery sessions are all about. So shameless plug. I want to remind everybody that you can go to the show notes of this episode. You can click the link and you can schedule that discovery session with Sarah or myself for free. And again, without any obligation for like long-term coaching. But I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that like a discovery session doesn't lead to coaching. It often does lead to coaching, because you start to realize, okay, these are the things I'm trying to accomplish. I need some help accomplishing them through accountability or expertise. And so sometimes that comes together. But I know that you have a very specific, like, for you to work with somebody, there's this expression that kind of has to be shared. So I don't want to steal your thunder, but can you share with us, what is that expression that needs to be shared in order to work together?
Yes, it is. It's got to be a hell yes for both of us, which means that I have to, we feel that energy, that I know that you are somebody that I want to work with, and you know that I am somebody that you want to work with. And if you're feeling any kinds of doubts or anything, I say it's a no for now. We stay in touch, and because I'm not going to pressure. Nothing works for pressuring, right? And so it's a hell yes for both of us. And you know when you really want to do something, that you're like, even though it's scary, if you still feel it within your soul, within your gut, that this is the direction, that I really need to go, because I'm really looking for change, right? You feel that. And just as a note here, a lot of times on my discovery sessions, that doesn't necessarily come up. I generally will schedule another call with people. Because I want you to think about this. I really want this to be a decision that you are certain that you're willing, and ready to go down this path. Because for a lot of people, it's not easy. Right. Yeah. And this is a decision that if you're going to make, then I want that commitment to be there, as do you, and we work with very committed people. And so I usually give people 24 hours. If you say, yes, I want to work with you, I say, let's touch base in 24 hours and make sure that we're a hell yes still.
Okay.
That's the way that I do things.
I like it. I like it. All right. So if it is, oh yeah, let's rock and roll on both sides. Let our listeners know what's it like to kind of work alongside Sarah Jones in her financial coaching.
Yeah. So, my focus, and if you guys don't know me, go back and listen to some previous episodes. But my focus is really on values, on energy, on your mindset first, and kind of the mechanics of money secondly. Because we're creating a roadmap to develop your skills, to build your skills, your strategies that really are going to last you a lifetime, not the meantime. And to do that, it comes down to behavior change. And so while mechanics, we put those pieces in because we're all looking, we all need some processes and mechanics of our money. I really focus on, your values and your energy and your mindset. And so we usually meet a couple times a month. But truth be told, I'm a little bit flexible on that as well. Sometimes I meet for shorter periods of time, more times a month. Depends on where you're at in your story, right? And where you're at in your journey. It depends on whether we're working on personal and business together, just personal or just business. Those all play some factors. So I'm a little bit more flexible in that. It's really based on case by case scenario. It's meant to help you as the client, right? To really get the help that you need so you can get where you want to go.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that with exposure to you and some of the other new money habit coaches, I have realized that maybe some of the value and values and mindset stuff should enter into my coaching, because my coaching, for anybody who might be also watching us on like YouTube right now, like my coaching is let's roll up the sleeves and let's get to work. And so for me, I established long ago that I want to meet on or around payday, and we're going to map out. Let me back up. So every month, before the month begins, there should be a plan kind of in place, what I like to call penciled in. So if we're in the month of April, then we're sitting down to do May's budget, and we're mapping out pay dates. When is the money coming in? We're mapping out expenses. When is that money due and going out, and which paychecks are covering which expenses? But then when we actually meet for our sessions, I like to meet with my clients on or around payday, because I want to firm up that penciled in budget. I want to get it all the way down. I was just on yesterday with a client where, that's exactly what we did. We looked at her expenses. We said, hey, this is what your income was this particular pay period. Here are your expenses. Then there's a series of questions. Hey, this and that and the other thing is coming up. What, if anything, do you need to be budgeting for that? I know you have people coming to visit. And so what do you expect to do while they're in town? And so I'm thinking about all the things that maybe even my client's not thinking about, oh, right, I do have people coming to town. Okay, we're probably going to go out to dinner. I should probably budget X number of dollars for dinner. I'm down in the nuance, right? Mm-hmm. Way down. And I'm asking all the questions that they should be asking themselves. But so we firm it up. And then if you're paid bi-weekly, it means I'm going to see you in 2 weeks. And in those 2 weeks' time, you have my phone number. So I'll call or a text if something's going off the hinges. But in 2 weeks' time, it's all like, hey, how'd the last 2 weeks go? Did it all go according to plan? No, you had a mess up here, and here. Okay, we'll note that stuff now, and we'll address it as we map out the next 2 weeks. And so we just get in this rhythm. And my client yesterday was all like, Nino, I was so off the last 2 weeks because I was traveling for work or whatever. So I didn't. There was one particular step in her process, getting to the ATM to pull out cash for her envelopes. She's like, I didn't do it. And I felt like I was off all these 2 weeks. She's like, but But like we looked at it and it's like it didn't mess her up too bad. So we cleaned up the little bit of a mess that it made. There were a couple other things she didn't do just because she was kind of scared. Like, I think I messed things up, so I don't want to do these other things. We took note of that. We adjusted for it. We're like, hey, with your surplus, do you want to take care of these things now? Yes, I do. And I want to do a little bit more. Great. You have the money to do it. And then it's go off and execute. And so there's this real sense of like, if you think about personal training, it's like I'm lifting the weights with you. I'm pulling the weights with you. We're going to do this together. And through that, I focus so much on the like, let's do it, that I help people to build up muscle memory where then they can eventually start doing these things on their own. And they're like, oh, okay, like this is what I do. And I budget this way. And I ask myself these questions and then I go and I execute. So we build up a muscle memory that way.
I love it. I love it. And, and that's so important, right? Doing the same things over and over. It's building those habits, that discipline, that when you do that, it gives you more ability, more confidence to be able to handle anything that comes your way in the future, right? Because you've already built up some of these habits and disciplines that when these things come, you're like, wow, I can lean on these habits already, right? I'm not necessarily going back to my default. And you definitely focus on more of the mechanics, and the nitty gritty than I do. Well, we do, we put numbers down and we definitely talk about that. But, and that's what I love about this is that coaching can look very different depending on who you choose to work with, right? We
That's
all
right.
have different ways of doing it, but I think the results are very similar, right? Mm-hmm. People, they become more clear, more clarity for their situation and where they're in. They have more confidence, in their abilities and going forward. I think that they open up, the communication starts to flow a little bit easier. They reduce stress, right? People start reaching goals and start reaching these things that they might never have thought possible in the past. And dang, if that isn't an amazing thing to witness and to be a part of, to watch these things happen with all of our clients, just to see debt being paid down, to be able to build up their peace of mind funds, to not live in scarcity mode. I've shared before, I lived in severe scarcity mindset for a long time. And to be able to get help to move out of that, it changes everything. It changes your relationship with yourself, with your spouse, with your kids, with everything. And when doing that, then you're able to use those mechanics just the same, right? And in a way that you can really just start knocking stuff, and you're still climbing that mountain, but it's literally one step at a time. It's I'm almost speechless because the help, that I've received because I still work with coaches, even though I'm 100% debt free, doesn't mean that I still don't have blind spots. Doesn't mean that there still isn't somebody out there that has way more knowledge than I do, right? That can help me to navigate some challenging situations. And so, I think no matter where you are in your journey, working with somebody can be hugely beneficial.
Absolutely. There's 2 points that you made that I really want to kind of drive home and piggyback on. One is the reduction of stress. As you were kind of saying, like, what are some of the benefits? Like, again, the client just yesterday who was, who felt a little bit messed up over the last 2 weeks, she said at the end, she's all like, Nino, thank you. You have reduced my stress. Like, I'm not stressing out about my money situation for the next 2 weeks. And that's awesome. And to your other point, like, where people are, you're going to be in a different spot. I work with people who are behind other bills to even the client yesterday, like, she's younger, but she has a fully funded emergency fund. She has a fully funded travel fund. She's contributing 15% to her employer-sponsored 401k, and she's trying to max out the $6,500 contribution to her Roth IRA this year. Like, she is a mover and a shaker. So when I said, like, hey, do you want to do the thing that you didn't do last time, which was contribute to her Roth? She's all like, not only do I want to contribute that dollar amount, I want to put more in this pay period. And like, okay, let's do that. So she gets to do these things. She gets to reduce her stress. But you don't have to be like behind on your bills or trying to figure out a plan from one pay period to the next. I work with a couple who I've been working with for a number of years. And at first it was a debt elimination, control spending, get your expenses in line type of relationship. Now it's a wealth building relationship. Now it is, they just bought a piece of property and it needed some renovations. So we worked through the financial plan of how do we acquire said property? How do we fund its repairs? And what is the ongoing business model look like? Because this is just the first of what they plan, what I suspect is going to be many investment properties. And so we went from let's eliminate debt and get spending under control to let's actually acquire assets and build generational wealth.
I love that. Gosh, I love that so much because it that's such a great representation of so much of our journeys, right? I had a session with a client yesterday, and she too is younger, but, and we've been working together for about 1.5 years. And when at first, we started working together, it was very much the same. She had some credit cards. She, had some kind of goals, wanted to build up her peace of mind fund, wanted to get, credit card use under control. And in that 1.5 years, Nino, she lost a job, started her own business, as 1099, a contractor through somebody else. And now we're transitioning from that to her very own business that she's building on her own. And that's why I say it doesn't matter where we're at in life, right? Somebody to help guide through these challenging times, because even if it's something you're planning, it can still be scary. There can still be some unknowns, right? And so how do we navigate through this? And I think most importantly, it's accountability, but it's also knowing that somebody has your back, right? That somebody truly wants you to succeed. And I don't know about anybody else, but, I haven't had anybody like that in my life other than the coaches that I've worked with. I'll be honest, a lot of my friends and family, they never really understood the journey that I was on. And I didn't have the language necessarily to communicate a lot of that either, but knowing that my coach and the coaches that I've worked with throughout the years, they've truly had my back, right? That it's not to benefit them. They really wanted to see me succeed. And I knew that somebody was right there to walk this journey with me. And for somebody who didn't feel like they had that for a good portion of their life, that's been a game changer as well, right? That the accountability is one thing, but really knowing that somebody has your back and really wants to point you in the right direction, to help you see, what your next steps are.
Yeah.
Truly, I say priceless. It's been priceless in my life.
Yeah. I like that because I feel that way about my clients. Of course I got my clients back. I have their best interest in mind. I want to guide them and advise them well. As you were saying that, excuse me, it reminded me of a client who called me while on the car lot at an Audi dealership. And she's all like, Coach, I need you to talk me out of this. She's like, I'm about to trade in and get a new lease and blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, let's talk. Let's be reminded of some of the other goals that you have and the things that you're trying to accomplish. And we started going through those things. And I said, now you just have to ask yourself the question, are these goals more important than the new car? Or would you like to delay these goals so that you can get the new car? And she's all like, no, I don't want to delay the timeline we're on. Like, I need to walk away. And so I stayed on the phone with her while she said goodbye to the salesperson. I don't remember exactly what she said, but I do remember it just being like a really funny moment. And like, nope, you're not getting a car. You're not getting a sale today. So, and she left the lot. Right. And so, when you say sometimes your friends don't understand the journey you're on or whatever. Imagine calling a friend in that moment and they're like, they might be like, oh yeah, you deserve it. And it's okay. Like you can afford it. Like do it. It'll feel good or whatever, because they don't understand the full breadth of what you're trying to accomplish. And some of the things that you might value differently now. It's funny that word comes up because, whether I knew it or not, I guess I was talking to her about like, what do you value more, right? Do you value this new car more? And I didn't make the decision for her. Right. I just helped her work through the process of making a decision.
I love that. I love that so much. And that's really what so much of this is, right? Is putting some processes in place. It's helping people work through that. It's determining what really does bring you value, and to know that things change, new seasons of life happen, right? And so we have to make adjustments are made during that time. And while you can maybe have supportive friends and family, most of the time I find they don't really still understand the full journey of what you're on, because we don't have these types of conversations with our friends and our family oftentimes, right? We say, hey, I got a raise, or hey, I'm getting a new job, or celebrate, I bought a new car, but we don't have the conversations behind all of those things, right? We're there with our friends and family to kind of celebrate, but we don't really go through the challenges and the struggles that we're really having. And so while I think our friends, some of them might feel like they're supporting us, right, by telling us, hey, you deserve it, they're really telling us what we want to hear, not what we need to hear. And as coaches, we're here to ask you the questions that nobody else is willing to ask you, right? We're here to ask and remind you of what you said was important, and to just bring you back to what it is that you truly want.
That's right. It really is all about our clients, providing them with a great experience. And one of the questions I'll ask clients from time to time, although it seems self-defeating, is, do we still need to work together? Would you like to schedule your next session? Right. So again, I go back to this is not like, if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, like maybe I should finally schedule that discovery session. You should, because there's absolutely no pressure. And there's no obligation and all of that stuff. But more importantly, there's so much that you can get out of it, that you can benefit from. So let's have that conversation. Go to the show notes, click on the link, schedule time with Sarah or myself. For crying out loud, just do it already.
Or both of us. There's nothing that says you can't schedule time with both of us, right? It doesn't have to be an either or. It can be a both, and see where you feel is the best fit. And you know what? I know people that work with several coaches at a time, because everybody handles things a little bit differently. And so there's nothing that's a cookie cutter approach here, right? We want to make sure that you're getting the help and the guidance that you really need and that you most desire, honestly. And I just want to put out that if you do schedule, when you do schedule, please know that we both understand how difficult it can be to reach out and talk about money to somebody who you really don't know. And I commend you for doing that. I'm so proud of you for reaching out. Any of you that are listening and on the fence, just know that I am really proud of you for taking the step and reaching out, because it is not easy to do. And it takes a tremendous amount of courage to be able to do it. So know that we see you, we feel you, and we are here for you.
And I appreciate you saying that, because like one thing I have to do after doing this for 10 years now is I do have to remember that first encounter, it is difficult, and there's a lot of vulnerability there. Right. And so it's not lost on us that personal finances are extremely personal, and that we live in a society in which you don't necessarily talk about these things. I mean, you might talk about your salary if it's a strong salary, like, yeah, I have a 6-figure income. Okay, good. What else you got going on? And more importantly, what would you like to see happen? So come on that journey with us. Thanks for hanging out and having a conversation with us. And as we always do, we will continue our conversation next time.
Thank you for listening to the New Money Habits podcast, brought to you by New Money Habits and Keeping Up with the Joneses Financial Coaching. Submit your questions to our host by emailing podcast@newmoneyhabits.com. Be sure to subscribe to be notified of future episodes. Join our growing group of like-minded people on Facebook and follow us on your favorite platform. Music provided by Summer School.